Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news. Lots to get through this morning. The title is really meant to be about Milenkovic, Nikola Milenkovic, which is a centre-back Manchester United are apparently targeting. But I've just seen an update in relation to David Alaba, which is quite encouraging for Manchester United as well. We'll also be talking about injury updates. Obviously, Solskjaer's got his press conference at lunchtime. Jack Grealish, a little bit about a player that could follow in the footsteps of Dan James. An update on Diallo, a youth player that's looking like they're going to get could be very close to the first team that isn't Diallo. Lots to talk about. Remember to download the Flick app as well. It's free to download. It's basically like a United Stand app. There's nearly 15,000 people on there daily now. 24-hour chat groups, polls, quizzes. Make sure you download it. It's free on Apple and Android. And join the chat when we're not live. Links in the video description for that one. But let's start. So I do want to talk about Nikola Milenkovic because it's a player that last night, a lot of reports linking Manchester United to him. A lot of half-truths about whether he would be a useful player for United. Which I sort of agree with in some ways in relation to would he be the perfect partner for Harry Maguire, but he's certainly a very interesting player. We'll talk about him, but I want to start off talking about David Alaba. David Alaba is a player that everybody, even Romano, has spoken about it, that it looks like David Alaba will go to Real Madrid. But there's some interesting things going on at the moment. And at CC_Eckner, Konstantin Eckner, who has written for the BBC, has good contacts in German journalism, what he said this morning is that the race for David Alaba may not be as advanced as people think in relation to Real Madrid, and that David Alaba, as much as he'd like to go to Real Madrid, that deal is not done and is starting to look at Premier League options. And of course, Manchester United are rumoured to be in that race. It's not a lot. It's a long shot to give it David Alaba, and I'm not going to spend loads of time on it, but he hasn't signed for Real Madrid yet. Real Madrid haven't sorted a deal with Ramos yet, and Real Madrid do not have a lot of money. So David Alaba is a free, so you don't have to pay the transfer fee, so it's still a brilliant deal, and I would expect Real Madrid to have the funds to do that and Sergio Ramos. I think the issue is, and I was speaking to a Real Madrid fan this morning on Twitter DMs, and they were saying that the thing with Real Madrid is that they would like to get Pogba, they would like to get Mbappe, they would like to get Alaba, and they would like to get Ramos, and they don't really have an asset to sell. So, and they don't really have a lot of money. And it's the same at Barcelona, and it might be the same at quite a few clubs. And this might be the problem that Paul Pogba faces, is that, look, Pogba probably wants to go. There's a few clubs that want to bring Pogba in, but nobody's got the money to do it. So Real Madrid may have to make a decision on whether they pump money into Alaba and Ramos, or whether they try and divert funds towards different players. Because ultimately, the problem that Real Madrid have got is they're not an attacking power as they used to be when Ronaldo was there. So spending a lot of money on two defenders, Ramos staying, big wages, and Alaba coming in, big wages. Yeah, they'll be defensively strong on paper, but they've still got defenders like Varane there, and they'd have three top centre-backs. So the suggestion is that something's going to give, whether it's Ramos or Alaba. Well, if it's Ramos, some people will get excited and think we might go for him. And if they don't get Alaba, some people will think we might go for him. So look, I think Manchester United on this one, it's a little bit like a hawk flying above a field, waiting to pounce on its prey. That prey may never come out of its hole. But the reality is, if it does, United could be in a position to pounce there, because there's no doubting that David Alaba as a financial package is something that Manchester United could afford. At 28 years of age, and for me, he's left-footed, and I actually think David Alaba is a really good centre-back, left-sided. Some people don't, but I do. But the reality is his wages are probably going to be a little bit more than Harry Maguire. It's going to be around £12 million a year. Well, there's no transfer fee. So, if you're willing to pay £80 million outright for Harry Maguire and then give him £10 million a year over 5 years, that's over £100 million expenditure on Harry Maguire. If we buy Alaba, we don't buy him. We just pay his wages and his agent fee. We'll spend half on Alaba what we spent on Maguire. So you see the financial advantage of that. But we'll just have to wait and see. I still expect Alaba to go to Real Madrid, but just a little bit of development, and that's what it is. It's a news story, isn't it? The next player I want to talk about is Nikola Milenkovic, 23-year-old centre-back for Fiorentina. Now, I'm trying to go through through my mind here, and it's hard in the morning, and somebody in the live comments might know. Banjola says Alaba at centre-back is a no-no. Mate, he's been playing at centre-back for a long, long time. I know he can play at left-back, but he can definitely play at centre-back. I think there's a real ignorance here that makes me laugh, and I'm not going to listen to people about this anymore. I'm just going to go with what my opinion is. I'll listen to the comments and I'll interact with them, but I'm not changing my opinion. Alaba can play at left centre-back and he could do a very good job for Manchester United. You know, the same people have been telling me Luke Shaw's no good for 2 years. Oh, what? Now he's our best player. Have the courage to stick with your convictions. I respect you, Banjolo, saying that he's not a left centre-back. I'm telling you that I think he is. So, you know, we'll agree to disagree on that one. But with Nikola Milenkovic, can anyone remember when we were linked to him? Because I think it was before Ollie came in. And my issue with this is there's a lot of noise around Nikola Milenkovic to Manchester United at the moment. But I don't know whether to file it as genuine or under the whole... You know, it's a bit like Sergio Milinkovic-Savic. You know, these are players that we were looking at when Jose was here. And I think we were looking at Milenkovic, the centre-back from Fiorentina, when Jose was manager. So if that's the case, I don't think there's anything in this, because I just think we still are being linked to players when they become available that we were looking at under Mourinho. And I don't think Ollie looks at the same players that Mourinho was looking at. I don't think Ollie would go for Milinkovic-Savic, but I know that Mourinho wanted him. And there's a few players like that. So I don't think we would be looking at Nikola Milenkovic, but there is a bit of noise around him at the moment. So who is he? And what is he? And what would he bring to the team? He's 6'3". He's 23. His contract's out in 2022, so the same as Paul Pogba and Jesse Lingard and Mbappe. He's one of those players who's got a year left on his contract. So something's going to happen in the summer, whether it's a new contract or a move. So he would be available for a reasonable price. And maybe this is why Manchester United are looking at him. Now, a lot of people would say he's slow. He's not slow, but he's not quick. He's not a quick centre-back. He's not like, you know, name me 4 or 5 quick centre-backs. He's not going to be in it. But he ain't slow. The problem is, Milinkovic and Maguire, do they complement each other well? Well, they'd be absolutely dominant in the air, because Milinkovic, who is Serbian, he's been likened to Vidic. I mean, look, Vidic is one of the best centre-backs Manchester United have ever had. He's one of the best centre-backs in Premier League history. I would put him in a Premier League 11 every day. I loved Vidic. So there's no way this lad's Vidic. But he is good on the ball. He's good on the ball. He's good at bringing the ball out from the back. He's good in one-on-one situations. He's very good in the air. But I wouldn't... I want a centre-back that's quick, because I just think next to Maguire, if you've got a quick centre-back, Maguire's a lot better with a quicker centre-back, as we've seen when he plays with Beek. But there might be a deal that Manchester United can do with Milenkovic. He's certainly not slow, but he's not super fast. So he's sort of in the middle. To be honest with you, there's probably quite a big similarity. The more I'm thinking about it, there's probably quite a big similarity with Harry Maguire. And of course, the big problem is his whole career basically, well, it's not his whole career, but his last few years have been in Serie A, which is a slower league than the Premier League. So I don't think Ollie will be looking at Milenkovic from Fiorentina, to be honest with you. But he is a player with a year left on his contract. There's a lot of centre-backs. A lot of clubs need centre-backs in the summer. And I certainly think he will be something that Manchester United can look at. Milenkovic is not a midfielder, Benjamin. You're thinking of Milinkovic-Savic. We're talking about Nikola Milenkovic, who plays at centre-back Fiorentina. Trust me, he's a centre-back. So, sounds like another Lingard, says Kevin. Well, we'll just have to see. Scott Powers says, hello, Mark. Koundé, Aarons and Rice would provide nice balance to the squad and allow us to really compete. Thoughts? Well, the only problem with that, Scott, is you've got no attacking player. There's no Grealish. There's no Sancho. There's no attacker. But you're right. We do need 3 players. I mean, my ideal summer for Manchester United is 4 players. Centre-back, backup right-back, CDM and attacker. And when I say an attacker, it doesn't necessarily have to be a right winger, because if Diallo comes through, you don't necessarily need a right winger. You could get a Grealish who can play off the left and centrally. Or dare I say it, you could do a Ronaldo. Happy birthday to Ronaldo, by the way. I would take him back any day of the week. And if Pogba wants to go back to Juventus, let's do a swap deal. You know, that's how I feel about that. But no, look, Milinkovic from Fiorentina. It's in the news. I've spoken about it. We'll move on. But look, he's got a year left on his contract. He's a good young centre-back. And you just don't know. You know, maybe United miss out on Upamecano, they miss out on Alaba, they miss out on Koundé, they miss out on Konate. That's 4 players I would go for. Maybe they have to start looking at players like that, and maybe that's where the story's coming from. I don't know. Maybe we're linked to Milinkovic because we're going to go for Milinkovic because we're not going to get any of the 4 players that we would like to get. I don't know. But United need a centre back in the summer, and I think one thing I know, and I never speak confidently at Manchester United, I will be stunned if we don't buy a centre-back in the summer. So who that centre-back's going to be, now here on at the start of February, I'll chuck a name out just for the laugh. If you want me to commit to a name, Kunde. I think we'll get Kunde. Yeah. I've got no information that we're going to get him. Not really, but that's the one I would go for. So get in the live comments and tell us what you would go for. Problem, Lim Hall, hello Lynn. She says, problem is Maguire is decent, but he's not dominant in the air or quick. Ideally, we want one of each. So hard to find an ideal partner for him. Reason, don't think we should have bought Maguire at that price. Well, I think we shouldn't have bought Harry Maguire at that price. I do like Harry Maguire, and I do like Harry Maguire. But we overpaid, and that's not even his fault. It's not his fault. We overpaid. We bought something that we weren't getting. I mean, look, Liverpool spent £75 million on Van Dijk and they got the best centre-back in the world. Manchester United spent £80 million on Harry Maguire and they bought a centre-back that, you could argue I think he's in the top 10 centre-backs in the world, but he's not in the top 5. And you could argue that in his time at United, he's not even been in the top 10. But when we bought him, I felt that we were buying a centre-back that was just about in the top 10 centre-backs in the world. But that's not 80 million. You don't spend that on that. So, look at what Man City got with Ruben Diaz for 50 million. So Harry Maguire was a 50 million player, and Leicester absolutely screwed us, as we know, and we've said many times. Injury update we'll get from Ollie at lunchtime. Press conferences at 1:30, so we'll be live at about 1:45. He'll be talking about Cavani. Remember, Luke Shaw went off as well. I mean, if Cavani is out, at least Martial's back scoring goals, but I think the Everton game is so important. I really hope Cavani's fit for that one. Will Diallo be playing? Well, this bleeds into a little bit of news, actually, just to focus on the youth for a moment. You may have heard me talking about Joe Hugel a few times, under 23. We got him in from Sunderland in the summer. I think he scored 6 goals for the under 18. Then he moved up to the under 23s, which is the reserve, and he scored 8 goals there. So he's got 14 goals for the season. He's banging them in from everywhere. Under 23 striker. In The Athletic today, I think it's Laurie Whitwell talking about Man United had given him a contract when he came that will basically lead into a professional contract, but they're so pleased with him that he's knocking on the door of the first team in the next few months that there will be a different contract put on the table that they're working on. I mean, look, everyone talks about players coming through. Well, and I think we've had a lack of players coming through this season. I'm disappointed in Ollie this season, but I think a lot of that might be to do with COVID, having to train in different bubbles, taking players from the youth into the first team is difficult because of that, as we saw with Palestri. And COVID can destroy a season if you lose 4 or 5 players with COVID and you've got to self-isolate, games in hand. So it's not as easy to promote the youth, but I do think that there are spots on the bench that youth players should be getting, and I wouldn't be surprised if Joe Hugel gets his chance at some point this season. Doing fantastically well. So that's that. There's talk of him getting a new contract, which would be fantastic. But on Diallo, who also plays for the under-23s, it looks like Diallo will be playing for the under-23s tonight. Now, shout out to that game because we're playing Blackburn, who are top of the league. We're mid-table. But obviously we smashed Liverpool last week, so it'll be a real test for those lot. Obviously Joe Hugel will be playing up front, Diallo probably playing as well. 7 o'clock kickoff, so I'm doing an 8 o'clock show tonight, so I'll have it on for the 8 o'clock show, and I will be watching it before, so I can give you updates of what's going on there. But I think Diallo will be part of the under-23s tonight, not part of the first team tomorrow. And the problem with that, as we know, is it's very difficult for Diallo to get on the bench at the moment because Juan Mata can't get on the bench at the moment, and Ollie's got to do something about that because fair play to Dan James, he scored a goal. It was a tap in, I would have scored it, but is he the future? No. Is he a player that's going to be a Man United player? No, I don't think he is. So I think Dan James needs to come off the bench and Diallo needs to come on the bench, and I think Ollie knows he's got to do that. He's just taking his time to do it. And what I would say about Dan James, by the way, is it's not all doom and gloom. I think people get really tetchy about when you're quite firm about your opinion on a player. Like, I don't think they're good enough. I don't think they should be on the bench. They're saying to hate campaign. I like Jesse Lingard, and so at times this season I thought he should have been on the bench. But the reality is he wasn't on the bench, and therefore he couldn't get in the first team. He goes to West Ham. He's in their first team. He scores 2 goals. He's happy. He's smiling. He's playing football. This is what rumoured was offered to Dan James at the end of the last summer transfer window, and rumoured to be offered him in January, and he didn't want to do it. So look, if I was Dan James, and I know Ryan Giggs has said stuff, he's frustrated. I don't know who's advising Dan, and I don't know what United are telling him, but look at what Jesse Lingard's done. That's what you should have done. Like, hanging around Manchester United expecting to get a first team shot. You've had that chance this season. You didn't really take it. You played well against Leeds. You were dreadful against Leicester. You ain't getting in that team ahead of Martial or Rashford or Greenwood. Diallo's going to be coming through. You're just not going to get in that team. And that's the blunt conversation that maybe Solskjaer's had with him. But maybe he's like, I'm not going on loan. I don't know what's going on. But it's not about dislike. It's not about hate. It's not about you're not good enough. It's about building your career out. And I think what Jesse Lingard's done is absolutely fantastic. He's gone to get first team football and he's playing for a team that's decent. And that's gonna be good for United and it's going to be good for Lingard. Dan James, I think he's hanging on to that bench spot at the moment. I think people like Diallo and obviously Mata, because he's not on the bench at the moment, they're pulling at his feet. Get off the bench. I want your spot. Well, he never takes his opportunity when he starts. I think we all know he doesn't suit United because he needs to work on his build-up play. He's a bit of an explosive player. If he'd have gone on loan in the January transfer window or at the start of the season, he might have 6 months under his belt playing for Brighton or playing for Leeds or something like that. And he'd be a better player for it. I think Dan James needs to speak to his agent or whatever and say, look, I've basically I've pressed the pause button on my career here. I'm not going to get in the United first team, and I'm not going to, even if I do, I'm not going to keep my spot. There's better players than me. I need to play first team football because my career at the moment, if Dan James's career is a graph, he's halfway up and he's stopped. He ain't going to go up because he ain't going to get first team football at United. He needs to go somewhere else, like Lingard's gone, to start going up again. And then maybe, you develop and you come back. And look, I understand it. Maybe there is a responsibility on Manchester United to develop the player. But there's also responsibility at a club like United, like there is at Chelsea and Liverpool and other big clubs, to win. If Ollie puts Dan James into the team and tries to develop him, we might lose points. So I think he needs a loan, and I think Dan James needs to look at what's happened with Jesse, because Dan James could be scoring goals for Leeds, he could be scoring goals for Brighton. I think those sort of clubs would be perfect. I think Dan James at Brighton would do really, really well because they're a well-organised side and they're crying out for pace and directness on the break, because most teams attack Brighton. So if they've got that on the break, it would have been great. But I don't know why it's not happened. I don't know. Wolves' last game of the season, injury crisis, a win required to take the title. Last minute Phil Jones header. Imagine the scene, says Scott Power. Hey, look, if there's a corner and Phil Jones is on the pitch, he can get his head on it. He's done it before. Respect to you in the United stand. You and so many inspire me to create content around my club, Doncaster. Hope to see Man United in the Premier League, says Forever Football DRFC. Thanks, pal. Thanks for the super chat. Just a few people have mentioned it in the show this morning, and I had some people messaging me last night. No Dobby says that as an Italian, Milenkovic is underrated. He's very good. Look, I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm certainly not dismissing Milenkovic. There's just two things. One, I think it's a legacy from Mourinho. I'm not convinced that Ollie's actually looking at him. I just think it's a bit of a story that, it's a bit like Koulibaly and Milinkovic-Savic. These were players that Jose wanted. I'm not convinced that Ollie wants them. And the second thing, would he complement Maguire? But he's got 1 year left on his contract, and it would be a deal that United like doing, I would argue. A few people have mentioned Haaland. There's nothing going on about Erling Haaland. I don't know where this story's even coming from. There's nothing going on about Haaland. I spoke to, I didn't. Draughty was messaging Frederick Fieldvet last night, and he said Man United like Haaland. They want Haaland, but there's nothing progressing with that deal at the moment. And I think, my observation on Haaland is that his contract's not up for another year. His release clause doesn't kick in the summer, it kicks in the following year. And I think what's happening with Haaland is that I think his release clause in a year's time is 60 million. And I think United are very interested in Haaland. And I think United would try and get involved in that. But if he's going to go in the summer, he's going to go for about 100, 120 million because it's not his release clause. And you know what Dortmund are like. We've seen what Dortmund are like with Sancho. So I think what's happening with Haaland is there's a club that wants to get him and there's a club that probably can get him, and it's called Chelsea. And I think Chelsea know that Man United, Barcelona, Real Madrid, PSG, they can't go and spend £100 million on Erling Haaland in the summer. But Chelsea can. And I think Chelsea will try and get him. Not United would love to get Haaland, but they've missed out on him before and they won't be able to get him They won't be able to get him in the summer. We'd blow all our transfer budget, and I don't think we've even got that money to buy Haaland when we need other positions. So there's nothing going on with Haaland and United other than admiration, and we'd like to buy him. In this summer window, we just can't do that deal. 3 players we must sign in the summer. So Sachin. Anana is banned. I don't know what he's been banned for, but a few people are talking about that. Man City could also get him as well. Yeah, to be fair, Man City probably have got the money to do it. United can't get involved in that deal. It's too much money. Aubameyang swap for Haaland plus 50 million, says Zane. Aubameyang what? No chance. Ajax keeper's been banned. A few people are talking about that. I don't know why. 3 players we need to buy in the summer. Centre-back, CDM, attacker. Go with whoever you want. I would say... I would like us to get Koundé, Declan Rice and Jack Grealish. I'd be very happy with those 3. My dream 3 would be Alaba, Ndidi, Ronaldo. I'd love to get those 3, but they're my dream 3, to be fair. And I'm acting like dream. He's apparently been banned for doping. Okay, that's interesting, isn't it? Banned for 12 months for doping, which is... You don't get a lot of that in football, do you? It's a bit like what Lance Armstrong will do. So, yeah. And Aubameyang fell out with Dortmund. Exactly, Zero Blade 57, so that wouldn't happen. Please smash a like on the video, by the way, everybody. We've got people tuning in. So we've talked about Milenkovic. Oh, yeah, just wanted to bring this in very, very quickly. I was watching the Flex and KG show this morning because I was watching Chelsea Spurs last night. I wish I'd watched the Flex and KG show. What a shit game that was. I mean, is there any... actually, just off the cuff here, I remember that for the last couple of years, there is this sort of cult United fan following that are pro-Mourinho, and they still think we should have Mourinho. I've not heard much from them in a while. Yeah. Look, I like Mourinho. He's box office. I really like Mourinho. It's just a shame that his aura as a person isn't there in his football teams. I stuck by Mourinho a long time, as many people on this channel know. I know a lot of you wanted him gone after the Sevilla Champions League embarrassment in March. He didn't go till the following December, and I think I was Mourinho out by October. I did give him a little bit longer than everybody else. And ultimately, with Mourinho, he just disappointed, didn't he? His style of football was terrible, and he deserved the sack. I mean, he deserved backing in the summer. He definitely, he took us to second place. He should have got backed. But his style of football was atrocious, and it never improved. And, I don't have any sympathy with Mourinho getting the sack. It was the right thing to do. My only sympathy would be that he should have got backed in the summer, but I still think the football would have been shit. They could have given him Koulibaly and whoever else he wanted, and he should have got those players, I agree. And that would have been nice for Ollie to then inherit, because the football still would have been shit. What should have happened with Mourinho is, we finished second, and it was a distant second. He should have been backed in the summer. He should have got Koulibaly and whoever else he wanted. The season would have started. He still would have played shit football. The players still would have turned on him. He would have got the sack, and Ollie would have come in with the centre-back already there, and he wouldn't have had to buy Maguire. So, I put that on the club there. I still think Mourinho would have been sacked, but he should have got the players that he wanted. What's the better watch? Jose's football or watching grass grow, says PMV Patrick. And welcome to the Members Club, Red Devils Down Under. Thank you very much for joining. Get your little badge next to your name supporting the channel there, just like Susan Brandon, who says welcome Red Devils down under as well. But yeah, just on Mourinho, it just makes me laugh that there used to be this United fans, you'd see them on social media, who were like, you're just very pro Jose. And I think, I do love Jose. I think he's a really interesting character, but his style of football, I mean, I've watched their last 2 games against, I didn't watch the Brighton one, but I watched them play against Liverpool a week ago, and I watched them Chelsea. They really are just park the bus and try and counter. But not like United. They're not even exciting on the counter. Well, I don't think United play like that now anymore. But like last season we did. Call Jack Ryan a Pratt and not promo your card, Mark, says Declan Daly. Thank you very much for that one. But I saw KG and Flex talking about Jack Grealish last night. Now, this, in my opinion, this is what happened with Jack Grealish. And I've said this a few times. But I think it's becoming more clear and clearer. And I think Van der Beek's, the way Ollie's used Van der Beek makes it clear and clear. A year ago, Man United were very close to signing Jack Grealish because there was an expectation that Paul Pogba was going to go in the summer and Man United were going to buy Jack Grealish. Then COVID happened and everything went to shit. Pogba stayed because he couldn't move. And nobody could pay the price United wanted, and therefore United couldn't buy Grealish, and obviously Villa stayed up. And I genuinely think Jack Grealish thought he was coming to Manchester United last summer, and I think United just couldn't do that deal. But I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wanted Jack Grealish, and I think Manchester United pulled out of the Jack Grealish deal and went for Donny van der Beek because he was half the price. And I think what's happened is Van der Beek has come in, and it's not the player Ole wanted. And I think the hint is there. And I was thinking about this last night when I was listening to their show again this morning, that look at where Ole has used Van der Beek. He's used him, he tries to use him as a number 10, but Bruno's there. He's used him to the left. He's used him on the left. He's not used him on the right. He's used him on the left. And he's used him in the pivot in cup games, etc., or when he's had to use him. Well, Jack Grealish would play on the left, and I think he wanted Grealish, and I think they gave him Van der Beek, and I think that's why Van der Beek doesn't play much, not because Ole thinks he's a bad player, but because it's not the player that he wanted. He wanted Grealish, so I think he's happy to have Van der Beek and he wants to integrate him into the team. But I think if he'd got Grealish, we would have seen Grealish playing a lot of first team football. And I think what's happened is Solskjaer wanted Grealish, he didn't get him, he got given Van der Beek, and it was probably to do with money. And I don't think Solskjaer was like, no, don't give me Van der Beek, but I think it was like, I want Grealish, you've given me Van der Beek, I will try and use him, but instead of him being loads of first team football because I want him and I know what he can do, this is a player that I'm not sure what to do with him. This is why he doesn't play. So that's my opinion on it, and I've heard it from a few people, but I think you can observe it yourselves, and I think that's what's happened. I think the lack of game time for Van der Beek is because Ole is happy to have him, but it's not the target that he wanted to use, and that target was Grealish, and he would have played a lot of first team football. I think with Van der Beek, Ole's like, yeah, he's a good player, but I don't really know where to put him, and I'd rather put other people ahead of him. Do you think Ramos would be a good match with Maguire, says Ritvik? What I would say about Sergio Ramos is he's better than anything we've got. He's still one of the best centre-backs in the world. The reason I don't want Ramos is because I don't think... Look, I've not mentioned this for a long time, but he gets a lot of yellow cards and red cards, and you know what the referees are like in this country. They're like bloody Simon Cowell. They just want fame. They're fame hungry. They'll just do stupid things. And I think like we don't get... I know we got a penalty against Southampton, but we could have... I mean, what about the penalty against Fulham on Fred? Klopp starts talking about United getting penalties, and suddenly refs are really reticent to give us them. So I think if Ramos came into this league and the media pumped up, wow, he gets loads of red cards, referees will have it in their head every time he does a tackle. So I think that would be a problem. I think the fact that he's never played in the Premier League would be a risk because it's very, very intense, and at 35, can his body deal with that? It'd be very expensive for a player that could be out injured or not up to it or suspended a lot. So, and also there's no future in it, is there? He's in his mid-30s. So I will take Ramos every day of the week over nobody, and I think him and Maguire would be better than him and Lindelof. But I don't think it's the sort of signing that we need to do. And I'm not convinced. I mean, the leadership you'd get would be second to none. And we do need more leaders in that team. So that's another positive. But I think if it was a scales of let's get Ramos, let's not, I'm probably let's not there. But I would be happy if we got him over nobody. But I just think that, the Koundés, the Upamecano's, the Konatés, even the Alabas, they offer much more in relation to building a future, because you want somebody that's going to be there for 4 or 5 years at least. Shaw, Martial, Baby and Pogba are 100% better after Jose. His man management is awful, and Ole should get credit for deserves for turning them round, says Mark Hughes. Well, as I said, I just don't think there was any issue with sacking Jose. He had his chance. It was crap football at the end, and his time had gone. Give Aston Villa James and Lingard for Grealish, says Sachin. I don't know what happens with Lingard. I think we need Lingard to play really, really well, and then he'll be worth some money, and then we sell him or we use him in a swap deal. I think you're right. West Ham fans went into meltdown yesterday when I said we'll give him 35 million and Lingard for Rice. But Rice is going to go for about 50, 60 million, isn't he, in this market? You're not going to get 80 million for Rice in a COVID market. So, and I'm not saying that Declan Rice will leave West Ham. If they get Europa League football, he might not leave. But, Jesse Lingard has just scored you 2 goals and won you a game. And West Ham fans are like, no, you're not having Rice and 35 million and we'll have Lingard. that's not. But I think Lingard's going to prove over the next few months that he's a very valuable asset for a team outside the top four. He's just not a first team player for Man United anymore, and he needs to play football. Definitely. Man City Liverpool at the weekend, Hassan. Well, yeah, look, we've got Ollie's press conference at lunchtime. Really intrigued to say what Ollie's going to say about injuries, and obviously I think he'll give us the update that Diallo's playing under 23s. Always love the press conferences at the moment, but look, we're playing on Saturday night, tomorrow night, against Everton. If we can win that game, I'm very confident that we can beat Newcastle and West Brom. It's not nailed on. We've seen what's happened with Sheffield United, so we could lose both those games. We know we can lose any game, but if we get the mentality right, we can win both those games. That would be 4 wins in a row after Arsenal. Man City, look, if you're thinking about titles, we've got to beat Everton tomorrow before we talk about anything else. But if we beat Everton tomorrow, we give ourselves a real opportunity to then go and beat West Brom and Newcastle. And then you look at Man City's fixtures in February. Liverpool on Sunday. I think they've got Arsenal. I think they've got Spurs. Look, to be honest with you, Man City could go and win every game in February, and then they're probably going to win the league. But if Man City should drop points in February and we win all our games, then suddenly you're back thinking, maybe. I still think, if I'm absolutely honest, and I think a lot of United fans will think this, whether they admit it or not. At this moment in time, who is the best team and who deserves to win the league? And the reality is, Man City are the best team. They play the best football. They've got an amazing defence, and they've been on an amazing run of wins. So they're the favourites. They are the favourites at this moment in time. And we went on a good run, but a lot of our run was late winners, late blocks and everything like that, which is fine, and we're only halfway through the season. In a month's time, we might be top. Man City might have wobbled. But at this moment in time, I think Man City are very firm favourites, and we need them to drop points. But also, more important than anything, we've just got to focus on us. Everton tomorrow, if we win that, is a big win. It's a really big win, and it's not a foregone conclusion by a long way. So we just got to win tomorrow, take it every game at a time. And if Man City keep winning and win the league, then they've deserved to win it, haven't they? But I think Man United's minimum focus has to be let's get hold of that second spot. Do you watch cricket, says Surajat? No, I'm not watching it at the moment, and I'm hoping Pep slips up once Champions League football starts, says Sachin. But then again, you could say it's harder for us, because how are we going to treat the Europa League? Career Mode is back this afternoon after the press conference, about 3 o'clock on my channel, so that is back for everybody who was asking. Holes says, thank you for your hard work, the grind and your voice, especially during 2020. I don't know why, but I keep on agreeing with you on everything. Don't agree with me on everything. That's not the point of the channel. And it's Hollis who said that. Thanks for the super chat. Do not agree with me on everything. That's not how it works. The way the United Stand was set up is that it's just opinion. And a lot of people will hear me say something and totally disagree with it, but it will spark something in their head to create their own opinion. And that's what it's all about. That's what opinion's about. I don't want to be that person where people go, oh, he's right on everything, because that's not what the channel's meant to be. It's meant to be a community. But what I like it when people disagree with what I say, because it sparks their own opinion and they form their own thoughts, and then they get passionate about that. So that's the purpose of it. But if you do, sometimes I do get things right. I hope. Ronaldo 36 today, says Siddharth. I still take him. And the funny thing is, I've been saying for about 5 years, this is the last summer I'd take him. And yet I would still take him, because I think he's a physical specimen that's very, very good at looking after his body, and he's very rarely injured. James just won me the game in front of the cop. It's DJ time. If you know, you know, says Red Devils Down Under. Obviously playing a bit of FIFA. Okay, so I'm going to be back at about 1:45. Ollie's press conference will be done by then. So smash the like on the video, subscribe. Make sure you download the Flick app. It's free. It's basically a Man United Stand app where you can just chat away on chat groups 24/7, transfer chat, general chat. There's also polls and quizzes on there. It's free. It's on Apple and Android, so make sure you download it and interact with each other. There's about 15,000 people on there, so you can keep the conversation going when we're not live. We will be live for the press conference. We are live at 8 o'clock tonight. I'll also have the under 23s on, so I can give you updates on that. Good luck to them tonight against Blackburn. Career Mode this afternoon on That's Football, and also I've got my Mark Goldbridge vlog going up on my channel later for anyone who enjoys that. Stay safe, have a good day, and I'll speak to you all in a bit.